Hi, it's Colleen from Millie doing a demo of the Santa hat pillow. This has become a favorite of ours in the past few weeks, and so I wanted to show you how easy this is to do, partly because it has a zipper in one of the seams, and people tend to be a little bit nervous about zippers. So let me take all the fear out of this fun pattern. So here's the Santa hat pillow pattern by Karen Montgomery. If you search in the app or milliepeas.com, you'll find the pattern. Add that to your cart. You are definitely going to want it. And then we also have some kits in milliepeas.com or in the app. So search, again, Santa hat, and you'll find all of the kits available. The first thing you're going to do, and let me show you how cute this sample is. The first thing you want to do is plan out your hat. For this particular pillow, we chose this really fun glimmery plaid for the hat, and for the cuff we chose this print that's got polar bears and houses and green glittery trees. And then we of course added this really cute pom-pom, and this particular pom-pom came from a yarn shop and is a little on the pricey side. That's why it's so spectacular. But we found a source for some other pom-poms, not quite so big, but they are equally cute. So the sample I want to show you this afternoon, that I want to show you the demo, will include the tree fabric from this same line, and then this black diagonal plaid for the hat. The first thing I'm going to do is put an interfacing on the wrong side of all the fabrics I'm going to use. For the demo, I used the Shape Flex, which is a Pellon product, SF101, also available at milliepeas.com and in the app, and it is a 2-yard cut, a 2-yard package. This Shape Flex is a woven interfacing, and I really like using it. It turns my cotton into something that feels a little bit like a twill, which makes for a really great pillow. In this example, I used the Pellon 987. We have that in the store. This gives this is a fleecy, the fusible fleece interfacing, so it gives it a little bit more of a batting kind of a feeling. Both of them are great. I love them both. They will both work great for you. So let me show you what the first steps are. In this, here I applied the interfacing to all the fabrics on the wrong side, and then I cut my pieces to size. What that does for me is it allows for the interfacing to cover all the raw edges of my fabric, and so I know it's really well fused. Because I need to install the zipper next, I added the zipper to the bottom seam of this cuff piece. This is 6 by 15 inches, and just remember that your zipper will be in the bottom seam, so you want your trees oriented toward the sky. I'll do the same thing over here. I'll take the trees, remind myself that this is the bottom seam, and I'm going to line that up exactly with the other rectangle and use a couple of pins to hold that in place. If you've seen me do anything like this before, you know I don't like pins all that much. It's kind of a nuisance, but it's really important here so that my 15 inches begins and ends on the same place on my zipper. So I'm going to head over to my awesome Juki machine, needle down, pull my pin out, and I'll go a couple stitches forward and a couple stitches back. Looks like I've got a pretty long seam there. And so here I go. So I will just go ahead and stitch the pillow cuff to the zipper. I'm using a kind of a scant 1/4 inch seam allowance here because my foot of my machine is right up against the zipper teeth. That's just fine. Be sure I ease that in, not with my finger, but maybe I'll use this pin here. Ease that in so all of this length is accounted for before the end of the seam. Take out that pin and I'll end right in the perfect spot. Back and forth. And there I go. Pins back in the pin cushion. So how pretty is this? Now I could take this over to the iron, but I don't really need to. I'm just going to finger press this in place. And again, give this a pin and top stitch this. The top stitching really assures that it will lay flat and look really finished, I think. You can, all right, take this over here and needle down. Here I go again. I love this Juki machine. Working the foot pedal while standing can be kind of a nuisance, but hey, I'm calling it my aerobics for the day. And cut my thread, and there I go. Okay, so the next step is to take my zipper, my cuff over to my machine, needle down, and I'm going to hold this in place and back and forth and back and forth 5 or 6 times, because I want to have a stop for that zipper when I open the and when I open the zipper, I don't want to risk the zipper coming the pull coming off the zipper teeth. Same thing on this end. And then I will grab my scissors, which of course are grab my scissors. Next step is to trim these off. You can put that in your stash if you need zipper tape for anything. I tend to save that stuff. All right, here's the cuff. How easy was that? The next step is also very easy. Here is my hat, and I'm going to open the cuff and lay one side of the hat to the right side of the hat to the right side of the cuff, or the band, I guess this is called. Come over to the machine. And this, for this seam, I am doing a 1/4 inch seam. I'll put a pin on the end here so I know I end with these 2 pieces lined up. If you can really tell, maybe you can't from seeing it, but the feel of this is just super with that 101. It really gives us a lot of body. So I'll open this and add the other piece here. Right sides together. So you can't really go wrong. Needle down, press her down, back stitch a few. I love the sound of this machine. And I am going to put a pin in here, probably cheating, not pinning the whole thing, but it's a short distance. Just perfect. Okay. Now, I'm going to press this seam with the seam allowance down, because this is going to give more of the illusion of this being a cuff than if it were the other way. I want this to appear as if the cuff is floating on top of the hat. And then I am going to pin this and top stitch this. These little details can really make the difference between it being good and great. All right. So I am probably stitching about 1/8 of an inch from the fold. Since I don't have a marker for distance, I'm using the presser foot as my guide for distance here. And I think that gives a really finished look. I'll do the same thing on the other side. Again, with the seam allowance pressed, or with your iron or finger pressed down toward me, again gives that illusion of the band or the cuff floating on top of the hat. Excuse me. I drive too fast with my right foot, my left foot. I better use my right foot. How fun. So now I have the pillow front and the pillow back finished, and I'm going to sew the whole pillow together. The first thing I want to do is be sure I've got an opening here, because I'm going to need to turn it right side out. So I'll pin these, and I tend to pin what I call landmarks. So I want to pin this seam because I want the cuff, the seam of the cuff, to match just right. So I'll pin that. And I'll do that on the other side. Other places in your pillow, you can fudge a little bit, but those landmarks are lining up are really important to the overall finished look of your pillow. And I really like pillows. Okay, so now my next landmark is going to be this point, because I really want that to line up well also. Okay, and then I will line up this point here and this point here, and like magic, they're all lining up really nicely. Okay, I am going to start on this side, again using my 1/4 inch, needle down, take out my pin, and I'm going to go back and forth over the zipper a couple of times. Do it slowly, because if you bang your needle into that zipper, you run the risk of breaking your needle just because of going too fast. Okay. I'm going to stop here, double check that this is still exactly where I want it. Ease that in there. This would be a great place for the magic fork pins. I think I'll go back over that. needle down, press your foot up, turn. You're probably wondering if I'm paying attention to my seam allowance. Kind of. It's not a perfect 1/4 inch. That's okay. It's consistent. All right. I'm going to give this a little tug, not too much because this is somewhat on the bias now, so you don't want to tug on it too much. But the 101 really helps hold it in place. Okay, now I'm going to lift and pivot and go forward a stitch and back a stitch just because I want that point to be locked in place. Okay? Up to this pivot point. There I go. See how fast this is? Probably the thing that takes the longest is the fusing of the interfacing and the cutting. I'm just checking my landmarks again one more time. Ouch. And I'm sure I'm good here. Now, actually I'm going to turn this over because I have a trick. At this point, it looks like I have a little bit more fabric on this side than this side. So if I turn my pillow over and I fold my zipper, so I'm starting right on the teeth, put this back under the needle, needle down, that little bit of extra fabric is just going to ease in like magic. So just eased in really nicely. Okay, now the only clipping I do will be this point here, and this isn't the sharpest scissor. I'll clip this one, clip that a little bit. I don't need that excess seam allowance. I'll clip this one for the same reason. Don't need that. Don't need this. Okay. And through the magic of video, I'll reach in and grab the top of the hat, push that out with my finger for now. It's a really well-written pattern and so fun to make, and every time you use a different fabric, of course, it'll look different and it'll be super cute. So I'm pushing those side seams out just a little bit. There we go. And then I will push this seam out. Okay, so I'll show you how much fun this next part is. I've got a 14-inch pillow form. Pull that out of that pillow, put it in here. You've got plenty of space. Close that zipper. And of course it would help if I fussed a little bit with these seams, maybe press this. But there is my pillow. In your kit, you either got Cuddle to make a pom-pom, or you got a ready-made pom-pom. So at this point, this would get sewn on here. How cute. Is it cute? Yes. All right. The next step is to add your pom-pom, and you can do the ready-made one like I showed you, or you can make your own pom-pom. So this is a 7-inch diameter circle of fabric. A little bit bigger, a little bit smaller, that's a pretty good size. I'm going to just use a really long stitch and baste all around the outside of this circle. And because it's stretchy, you can see that it's kind of pulling as I go, which is fine. And I want a thread that's long enough. So the whole aim here now is to pull my threads, pull one thread, and grab one, and gather this up. And as I gather this, I'll pull this along on this basting seam, and I'm also folding the seam allowance in toward the center, in toward the center and inside of the pom-pom. And I keep working that until this is all gathered. And once it's close to being finished, I'll put a little bit of a interface, not interfacing, but a fiber fill in here, and that's what will give this full pom-pom look, like this one. This one's actually awfully big. So I will continue to pull this until it makes a really nice round circle. You can also buy a pom-pom. You can make one out of yarn, which would look cute as well. And like I said, this one's a little bit small, but you get the gist of how to do this. You're going to run a basting stitch and pull this, and when you get to a certain point, you will put your fiber fill in here, which is what's inside this one. I'll pull a little out so you can see it. Then the pom-pom, whichever one you use, this is the fiber fill, whichever one you use, you'll sew that to the end of your hat, and voila. The other hat we really have come to love is the one that is all Cuddle. And in this example, instead of putting the zipper in the bottom seam, we put the zipper between the cuff or the band and the hat itself. So you'll make this side and then sew both sides together and put it together just the same way as the other one, but instead of the zipper in the bottom seam, you've got the zipper here, and then you can have a fun red Cuddle hat. So that is the Karen Montgomery's Santa hat pillow with cotton, with Cuddle, with a ready-made pom-pom. Make your own pom-pom, whatever you'd love to do. Super fun.